Joshua Moore is transferred, or more technically correct, is in the transfer portal. 24 catches, 3 touchdowns, 61 catches for his career with 13 touchdowns. What amount of a loss? What is the size of loss of Joshua Moore leaving?
It's weird because he's not, to be honest with you, he's underperformed. He's dropped a lot of passes. I mean, the Baylor game comes to mind where he drops a touchdown, and then the next play he drops a ball, hits off his hands, and it's picked off. So he's had really big issues with that. But the thing is, we're thin at wide receiver with Jordan Whittington being out. And then Marcus Washington really isn't much of a pass catcher. He's more of a blocker at wide receiver. And then you have Kelvontae Dixon in the Iowa State game. Hudson Card makes it probably his best throw of his career, where he anticipates him breaking out of the route, and the guy doesn't finish the route, and it hits him in the helmet. And you can't be doing stuff like that at wide receiver. You always got to finish your route. So it's a semi-big loss. If this was Josh Moore of a couple years back where he's the leading receiver and he had his confidence and he seemed 100% healthy, I would say it's a gigantic loss. Right now, it's a semi-big loss, especially just because of the health of the wide receivers. If Jordan Whittington was healthy, I wouldn't really care, to be honest with you. And it seemed like he just wasn't a fit under the Steve Sarkisian staff. And the thing is, I'd way rather get rid of the people that don't want to buy in now than wait until the offseason going into next year and still have him on the team.
Talking Texas, the Longhorns at 4-5, 4 consecutive losses, leading at halftime, basically across the board. Got Matthew Miller on to talk about it. Join him for Texas post game right here at the Voice of College Football. So as you mentioned before, Kansas upcoming. That's a 90-some% guaranteed win, but not guaranteed, but probable there in the 90% range as a 30-point favorite. At West Virginia, Kansas State. Those games to me are complete toss-ups. I have no doubt that Texas has a more talented roster than both of those teams, but they certainly seem to be more functional at this point, more consistently marginal, mediocre, especially Kansas State. I think I know what I'm going to get out of them. West Virginia jumped up and beat Iowa State a couple weeks ago, but then they've also lost to, Texas Tech and other teams and lost 4 score games. Do you care about going to a bowl game? It's going to take 2 out of 3 here to get to 6.
I personally do, just because of the extra practices with the young team and trying to build a culture like this in your first year. I think it's very detrimental that you get to a bowl game just because of that. I think you get something like 8 to 12 extra practices. So that's a lot. And you get to just spend more time with your players. And I think that really helped Tom Herman jumpstart that team from going 7-6 in the next year to go to 10-4. I think it can be that type of leap into year 2 if we get to a bowl game, especially since, for whatever reason, when we get to bowl games, Texas in general as a program does pretty well most of the time, other than Charlie Strong. Tom Herman, they did well. Mac Brown, that did well. So, and with Steve Sarkisian, a month to prepare, basically, or 3 weeks to prepare for a bowl game, I think he can get pretty creative on offense and do some pretty wild things. And if he gets the second half thing figured out between the end of season and the bowl game, whoever we play then would probably kill, just for the simple fact that wouldn't be a 6-6 team you're playing. That'd be more like a 9-3 team you're playing. So I want it mainly just because of the practices, though.
Yeah, bowl games don't mean what they used to, but there's still some kind of cachet there. And it can be a feel-good situation, like notching that win, having a winning record going into the offseason. And again, just game reps against legitimate competition is always good. No question about that for a young team and projecting toward 2022.